The great hall of the Galactic Senate stood silent as Torak walked through its golden doors. His footsteps echoed against the marble floor. Above him, the ceiling showed a map of all the stars the Valari had conquered. 12 systems, 47 worlds, 300 cycles of dominance. Torak was old, even by Valari standards. His blue skin had faded to pale gray. His four eyes no longer saw as clearly as they once did. But his mind remained sharp, and what he had found in the ancient archives kept him awake for many nights. The Senate chamber filled slowly. Counselors took their seats in the circular hall. At the center sat High Counselor Velis, his robes shimmering with the light of 1,000 tiny crystals. He was young and proud, chosen for his ambition rather than his wisdom. "Historian Torak," Velis said, his voice carrying a tone of boredom. "You requested an emergency session. This had better be important." Torak bowed his head respectfully. "High Counselor, honored members of the Senate, I come before you with a warning from the past." He raised his hand and activated a hologram. Ancient symbols appeared in the air, glowing with soft blue light. The writing was old, older than the Valari civilization itself. It belonged to the Elders, a species that had vanished from the galaxy thousands of cycles ago. "I found these records in the deepest archives," Torak explained. "They were locked behind encryption that took me 3 cycles to break. The Elders left this message for whoever came after them." He began to read the words aloud. His voice trembled slightly. "Do not wake the humans. Do not seek them. Do not provoke them. They are patient, but they do not forget. They are fragile, but they do not break. We made a terrible mistake. Do not repeat it. Leave them alone on their blue world. Let them sleep. Let them dream. Do not give them a reason to remember." Silence fell over the chamber. Then someone laughed. It was Counselor Keth, a military commander known for his victories against lesser species. "This is your emergency? A bedtime story from a dead civilization?" Others joined in the laughter. Velis smiled and raised his hand to quiet them. "Torak, you are a respected historian. But surely you do not expect us to take this seriously. The Elders vanished long ago. We do not even know why they disappeared. Perhaps they were weak. Perhaps they were foolish. Their warnings mean nothing to us." Torak stepped forward. "High Counselor, the Elders were not weak. Their technology surpassed anything we have achieved. They built structures that still stand after 10,000 cycles. They mapped the entire galaxy before we learned to sail between stars. And yet they feared these humans enough to leave this warning." "Humans," Velis repeated the word like it was a joke. "What do we know of them?" "Very little," Torak admitted. "They live on a small world in the Orion Arm, a blue planet called Earth. Our long-range scans show a primitive civilization. They have only recently achieved space travel. Their ships are slow. Their weapons are crude. Their bodies are fragile. They live for less than 100 cycles." Keth laughed again. "And we are supposed to fear these creatures? High Counselor, I could conquer their world with a single fleet." "That is exactly what concerns me," Torak said. "The Elders were far more powerful than us. They could have destroyed Earth with ease, but they chose not to. They chose to hide. They chose to warn others. Why would the mighty Elders fear such a weak species?" Velis leaned back in his chair. "Perhaps the Elders were superstitious. Perhaps they believed in spirits and demons. We are Valari. We believe in facts, in science, in power. We have conquered 12 systems. We have defeated every enemy we have faced. We will not cower before ancient ghost stories," the Senate murmured in agreement. Torak tried one more time. "I beg you to reconsider. The expansion into the Orion Arm can wait. Let us study these humans first. Let us understand why the Elders feared them so much." Velis shook his head. "The expansion will proceed as planned. The Orion Arm contains valuable resources. We will not delay our progress because of your fears." He paused and looked at Torak with something close to pity. "You have served the Senate well, old friend. But perhaps it is time for you to rest. Leave the future to those who are not afraid of it." The vote was quick. Every counselor except Torak raised their hand in favor of expansion. The motion passed without opposition. As the Senate emptied, Torak remained standing in the center of the chamber. He looked up at the map of conquered stars and wondered how many more would be added. He wondered if any of his people would survive to see them. An aide approached him. "Ambassador, your transport is ready." Torak nodded slowly. "Tell me, young one, have you ever heard of humans?" The aide thought for a moment. "No, Ambassador." "Should I have?" "No," Torak said quietly. "I suppose not." Not yet. 3 months later, the first Valari scout ships entered the Sol system. They passed the outer planets with their rings of ice and rock. They passed the red world and the belt of broken stones. They approached the blue planet, the one the natives called Earth. Commander Keth stood on the bridge of his ship and watched the world grow larger on the screen. It was beautiful, he admitted. Blue oceans, green lands, white clouds swirling across its surface. "Begin scans," he ordered. "I want to know everything about these humans. Their cities, their weapons, their weaknesses." His officers worked quickly. Data filled the screens. Population counts, technology assessments, military capabilities. Keth smiled as he reviewed the information. The humans were exactly as primitive as the reports suggested. They had nuclear weapons, but nothing that could threaten a Valari ship. They had no shields, no faster-than-light travel, no understanding of the galaxy that surrounded them. "High Counselor Velis will be pleased," Keth said. "These humans will make excellent servants, perhaps even pets." He did not notice the small satellite that had been tracking his ship since it entered the system. He did not notice the signals it sent back to Earth. He did not notice the humans looking up at the sky. Their eyes filled not with fear, but with patience. On Earth, in a bunker deep beneath a mountain, a group of men and women gathered around a screen. They watched the alien ships approach. "So," said a man named Tai Ho, "they finally came." A woman beside him, Dr. Yuna, studied the data flowing across her console. "Valari 6 ships. Standard reconnaissance formation. They think we cannot see them." "Let them think that," Tai Ho said. He smiled, but his eyes were cold. "Let them think whatever they want." For now, he turned to his officers. "Begin protocol patience. We have waited a long time for this. We can wait a little longer." Outside, the stars continued to shine. The Valari ships continued to scan, and humanity continued to wait just as it had waited for thousands of years. Ever since the elders first came and taught them what the galaxy truly was, they remembered everything, and they had learned to be patient. The Valari delegation waited in orbit for 3 days before the humans responded. Commander Keth grew impatient. He paced the bridge of his ship and complained to his officers about the slow creatures below. "Perhaps they are afraid," one officer suggested. "Perhaps they are simply stupid," Keth replied. On the 4th day, a small ship rose from the planet's surface. It was ugly by Valari standards. No smooth curves, no elegant design, just metal and function. It approached slowly, almost cautiously. "They wish to dock," the communications officer reported. Keth smiled. "Let them. I want to see these humans with my own eyes." The human ship connected to the Valari vessel. The airlock opened with a hiss. Keth wrinkled his nose at the strange smell that came through. It was the smell of Earth, of grass and water and something he could not identify. 3 humans stepped aboard. They wore simple uniforms. Gray fabric. No decoration. No sign of rank except small pins on their chests. The first human was a man. He was shorter than Keth expected, with black hair and dark eyes. He moved carefully, like someone walking into a dangerous place. His name was Taiho Park, and he introduced himself as captain of the United Earth Fleet. The second human was a woman. She had longer hair and a gentle face. Her eyes moved constantly, studying everything around her. She was Dr. Unikong, a scientist and diplomat. The third human was younger, translator, though he remained silent throughout the meeting. Keth looked down at them with obvious disappointment. "You are smaller than I imagined." Taiho smiled. It was a strange expression. Keth had never seen anything quite like it. The human's mouth curved upward, showing teeth, but his eyes remained calm and watchful. "We are a humble species," Taiho said. His voice was soft and respectful. "We are honored that the great Valari have chosen to visit our small world." Keth felt pleased by this response. He led the humans to a meeting chamber and gestured for them to sit. They did so carefully, their bodies stiff and uncomfortable in the alien chairs. "Your species is young," Keth began. "You have only recently discovered space travel. You have no shields, no jump drives, no understanding of galactic politics. You are, to be honest, quite primitive." Taiho nodded. "Yes, we know this. The Valari Empire is powerful. We control 12 systems. We have defeated many enemies. We could destroy your world with a single fleet." Keth paused to let this information sink in. "But we are not cruel. We believe in bringing lesser species into our protection. We offer you a place in our empire." "Protection?" Yuna asked. Her voice was curious, not afraid. "Yes, you would become a protectorate of the Valari. We would guide your development, teach you our ways. In exchange, you would serve the Empire. Your people would work in our factories, mine our resources, help us grow." The humans looked at each other. Something passed between them. A glance, a tiny movement of fingers. Keth did not notice. "This is a generous offer," Taiho said slowly. "We would be honored to accept." Keth blinked his 4 eyes in surprise. He had expected negotiation, arguments, perhaps even threats, but the humans simply agreed. "You accept?" "Just like that?" Taiho bowed his head. "We know our place in the galaxy. We are weak. You are strong. It would be foolish to resist." Yuna smiled, the same strange smile as Taiho. "We only have one small request. For educational purposes, we would like access to your star charts. We wish to learn about the galaxy we are joining." Keth laughed. "Star charts. That is all you want?" "We are a curious species," Yuna said. "We like to learn." Request seemed harmless. What could primitive humans do with star charts? They could barely travel to their own moon. Keth approved the request without consulting the Senate. Over the following weeks, more meetings took place. Human delegations visited Valari ships. Valari officers visited human cities. Both sides learned about each other. The Valari learned that humans were fragile. They required constant air, water, and food. They grew tired quickly. They slept for 1/3 of every day. Their bodies broke easily and healed slowly. They felt pain intensely and feared death above all else. The humans learned about the Valari, their technology, their military structure, their politics, their weaknesses, but only one side knew they were learning. Yuna kept detailed notes after every meeting. She recorded the way Valari officers stood, the way they spoke, the subtle signs of their emotions. She noticed that Keth touched his neck when he was lying. She noticed that Valari soldiers looked to their right when they were uncertain. She noticed everything. Taiho asked questions. Simple questions that seemed innocent. Where did the Valari get their food? How many ships did they have? What other species had they conquered? The Valari answered proudly, boasting of their achievements. They never wondered why the humans wanted to know. One evening, after a long day of meetings, Taiho and Yuna sat alone in their quarters. The walls were thin, so they spoke in whispers. "They think we are children," Yuna said. "Good." Taiho looked out the window at the stars. "Let them think that. The star charts are complete. I have mapped every Valari system, their military bases, their supply routes, their vulnerabilities." Taiho nodded slowly. "Send the information to Earth. Encrypt it. Use the old codes, the ones from before. Yes, the ones the elders never broke." Yuna paused. "Do you ever wonder about them? The elders?" Taiho's face darkened. It was rare to see him show any emotion. "I wonder about them every day. I wonder what they did to our ancestors. I wonder why they left. I wonder if they are still out there watching." The old stories say they made us afraid on purpose. They hurt us so we would learn to survive. Then they taught us well. Taiho turned away from the window. Send the message. Tell Earth to prepare. This is only the beginning. Back on the Valari command ship, Keth wrote his report to the Senate. He described the humans as cooperative and obedient. He recommended full integration into the Empire. He noted their curiosity, but dismissed it as the behavior of a simple species trying to understand their betters. He never mentioned the way Taiho watched him, the way those dark eyes followed every movement, the way that smile never quite reached them. High Counselor Velis received the report with satisfaction. You see, Torak, your fears were unfounded. The humans have accepted their place. They will serve us well. Old Torak read the report in silence. He noticed something Keth had missed. In every meeting, in every conversation, the humans had asked questions, but they had never answered any. What were they hiding? Torak looked at the elder warning on his desk. The words glowed faintly in the darkness. They are patient, but they do not forget. He shivered and pulled his robes tighter around his shoulders. He could not explain why, but he felt like something terrible was beginning. Something that would not end for a very long time. On Earth. Deep in the mountain bunker, Taiho received confirmation that his message had arrived. Teams of engineers began their work. Factories started production. Ships were designed in secret. Humanity smiled at the stars and began to wait. They were very good at waiting. 50 cycles passed. The galaxy changed slowly, as galaxies do. The Valari Empire grew stronger. New systems were conquered. New species were brought under protection. And the humans became invisible. They worked in Valari factories. They served on Valari ships. They cleaned Valari homes and cooked Valari food. They were everywhere and nowhere at the same time. No one noticed them. No one paid attention to the quiet creatures who smiled and bowed and did what they were told. Taiho was old now. His hair had turned gray. His hand shook sometimes when he held things. But his mind remained sharp, and his daughter Hannah had inherited his patience. Hannah was everything her father had hoped for. She was smart and strong and careful. She commanded a small fleet of human cargo ships, carrying goods between Valare worlds. No one suspected that her ships also carried information, plans, weapons, hidden in secret compartments, on the mining colony of Drath 7. A Valari overseer named Nara watched her human workers with growing unease. She could not explain the feeling. The humans did everything she asked. They met their quotas. They never complained. They were perfect workers. Too perfect, Nara began to watch more closely. She noticed small things. A human worker would tap his fingers on a table in a strange pattern. Another worker across the room would tap the same pattern moments later. Two humans would pass each other in a hallway and their eyes would meet for just a moment. Something would pass between them. A message. A signal. Something Nara could not understand. One day, she followed a human worker named Jisoo. He finished his shift and returned to the human quarters. Nara watched from a hidden camera as Jisoo entered a small room and sat down at a table with other humans. They did not speak. They did not need to. Their hands moved in complex patterns. Their eyes flickered in specific directions. Sometimes they would write symbols on paper and burn the paper immediately after. Nara recorded everything. She spent weeks studying the footage. Slowly, she began to understand. The humans had created a language without words. A way to communicate that no Valari could detect or decode. She took her findings to the colonial governor. The governor looked at her recordings and laughed. You think the humans are plotting against us? Look at them. They are harmless. They cannot even survive without our atmosphere suits. What could they possibly do? Nara pressed her case. Governor, in the past year, human engineers have improved our mining equipment by 40%. Human doctors have cured 3 diseases we thought incurable. Human traders have opened routes that doubled our profits. Does that not seem strange to you? The governor shrugged. It seems lucky. The humans are useful. That is why we keep them. But why are they so helpful? What do they gain from it? The governor dismissed her with a wave of his hand. You think too much, Nara. Go back to your duties. Let me worry about politics. Nara left the office with a heavy feeling in her chest. She knew she was right. She knew the humans were planning something, but no one would listen. Far across the galaxy, Admiral Taiho met with his inner circle. Yuna was there, older now, but still sharp. Hannah stood beside her father, ready to take his place when the time came. Around the table sat the leaders of humanity's secret resistance. The network is complete, Yuna reported. We have agents on every Valari world. Every factory, every ship, every colony. They are all connected through the silent language. Taiho nodded slowly. And the weapons? Hidden in 100 locations, ready to be activated on your command? The ships? Hannah answered this one. 300 warships. Built in secret over 40 cycles. Hidden in asteroid fields and abandoned systems. Our crews train in simulation every night after their Valari masters go to sleep. Taiho closed his eyes. 50 years. 50 years of smiling and bowing and pretending to be weak. 50 years of watching his people serve their conquerors. 50 years of planning and waiting. We could strike now, Hannah said. Her voice was eager. We are ready. Taiho opened his eyes. No, not yet. The Valari are still strong. We need them to be weak first. How long do we wait? Taiho looked at his daughter with eyes that had seen too much. As long as it takes. That is what humans do. We wait. On Drath 7, Nara continued her investigation alone. She found more evidence. Human workers who seemed too healthy. Human quarters that contained technology the humans should not have. Messages encoded in work schedules and supply orders. She tried one more time to warn the Senate. She sent a detailed report to High Counselor Velis himself. She explained everything she had found. She begged him to investigate. Velis read the report and called Nara to his office. She felt hope rise in her chest. Finally, someone would listen.
Overseer Nara, Velis said.
His voice was cold. Your report is impressive. Very detailed. Very thorough. Thank you, High Counselor. I believe we face a serious threat. I believe you are paranoid. Velis tossed the report aside. The humans have served us faithfully for 50 cycles. They have improved our technology. They have healed our sick. They have worked our minds without complaint. And you think they are our enemies? Yes, High Counselor. I do. Velis leaned forward. Let me tell you what I think. I think you have spent too long on that mining colony. I think you have forgotten your place. The humans are tools, nothing more. They do what we tell them because they have no choice. They help us because it benefits them to help us. There is no conspiracy. There is no secret plan. There is only a useful species doing useful work. Nara bowed her head. I understand, High Counselor. Good. You are reassigned to Border Patrol. Perhaps some time fighting North Raiders will cure you of these fantasies. Nara left the chamber in silence. She did not argue. She did not protest. But she remembered everything. 6 months later, the North Empire declared war on the Valari. The attacks came fast and brutal. Valari fleets were caught unprepared. Colonies fell in days. The border Nara had been sent to patrol was overrun within hours. She barely escaped with her life as her damaged ship limped out toward Valari space. Nara sent a message to High Counselor Velis. It contained only 3 words. The humans knew. On Earth. In the mountain bunker that had served as humanity's secret headquarters for 50 years, Admiral Taiho received news of the war. He gathered his officers around the planning table. The North have attacked. The Valari are losing. Hannah stepped forward. Is it time? Taiho looked at his daughter. He looked at Yuna. He looked at all the men and women who had spent their lives preparing for this moment. Send the signal, he said quietly. Wake up our ships. Call our people home. The waiting is over. Across the galaxy, in factories and mines and colonies, humans received the message. They stopped their work. They looked at each other. They smiled, and they began to move. The North came like a storm. Their ships were massive and dark, built for war and nothing else. Their soldiers were bred for violence. They had waited generations for this moment. Watching the Valari grow soft and comfortable, High Counselor Velas stood in the war room as reports flooded in. Colony after colony fell. Fleet after fleet was destroyed. The Valari military, so proud and confident, crumbled like paper in the wind. "We need reinforcements," his generals begged. "Call upon the protectorate species. Call everyone who owes us loyalty." Velas sent the call. Most species refused. Some were too weak. Others had secretly been hoping for Valari defeat. But one species answered, the humans. Admiral Hanapark sent a simple message to the Valari Senate. "We remember our duty. We are coming." Velas felt relief wash over him. The humans had always been loyal. They would fight. They would die. They would buy the Valari. It's time to rebuild. What arrived was not what he expected. The human fleet emerged from jump space near the Valari homeworld. 300 ships. But these were not the clumsy cargo vessels the Valari remembered. These ships were sleek and deadly. Their hulls were made of materials the Valari did not recognize. Their weapons hummed with power that should have been impossible. Admiral Hanapark stood on the bridge of the flagship. The vessel named Remember. Her father had died 3 years ago, but his spirit lived on in everything she did. Beside her stood Commander Dallin Shin, a soldier who had spent his entire life training for this moment. "The Valari are requesting communication," her officer reported. "Let them wait," Hannah said. "First, we have work to do." The human fleet moved toward the North lines. The North commanders laughed when they saw them. Humans. Fighting. The galaxy knew humans were weak. They were servants. Workers. Not warriors. The first human ship fired. The North flagship exploded. One shot, one kill. The weapon that fired it was something new. Something humans had built in secret over 50 years. It combined Valari technology with North designs with something older. Something humans had discovered in ancient ruins on Earth. Something the elders had left behind. The North stopped laughing. The battle lasted 6 hours. The human fleet moved with perfect coordination. Every ship knew exactly where to be. Every weapon fired at exactly the right moment. They had practiced this battle 1,000 times in simulation. Now they fought it for real. North ships tried to flee. Human ships followed. North soldiers tried to surrender. Human soldiers did not accept. Commander Dallin Shin led the ground assault on the North command base. His team of 40 soldiers landed on the surface while bombs fell around them. Half of them died in the first minute. Doan kept moving. The North defenders numbered 3,000. They held fortified positions with heavy weapons. They had every advantage. It did not matter. Human soldiers fought through injuries that would kill any other species. One soldier continued firing after losing an arm. Another crawled forward with both legs broken, dragging grenades toward enemy positions. They did not retreat. They did not hesitate. They pushed forward with something the North had never seen before. Anger. Ancient anger. Anger that had been waiting for 10,000 years. Dowan's team held a critical position for 6 days. They ran out of ammunition on day 2. They fought with knives and rocks and bare hands. When reinforcements finally arrived, only Doan and 2 others remained alive. They were still fighting. A North warlord named Grax was captured during the battle. He was brought before Commander Dowan, who stood covered in blood and dust and the marks of wounds that should have been fatal.
What are you?
Grax demanded. "You are not like the humans we studied. You were supposed to be weak, fragile, afraid." Awan smiled. It was not a pleasant smile. "We are what happens when you give prey enough time to evolve." The war ended in 30 days. The North Empire, which had seemed unstoppable, was broken. Their fleets were destroyed. Their colonies were captured. Their leaders were dead or imprisoned. The humans had won, but they did not celebrate. On Valari Prime, High Counselor Velas prepared a ceremony to thank the humans. He planned speeches and medals and promises of reward. He expected Hannah Park to bow before him and accept his gratitude. Instead, he found her already sitting in his chair. The Senate chamber was full of human soldiers. They stood at every door. They lined every wall. They did not point weapons at anyone. They did not need to. Velas stopped in the doorway. His guards reached for their weapons. "I would not do that," Hannah said calmly. "Your weapons have been disabled. Your ships have been grounded. Your communication networks have been rerouted through our systems. You are not in danger, High Counselor. But you are no longer in control." Velas walked slowly to his seat. It was strange, sitting below a human, looking up at those cold, dark eyes. "We saved you," Hannah continued. "We destroyed the North. We protected your worlds. We lost thousands of our people defending an empire that treated us as servants. Do you know why?" Velas shook his head. "Because we wanted you to see." Hannah leaned forward. "We wanted you to see what we could do. We wanted you to understand what you invited into your empire 50 years ago. We wanted you to realize what the elders knew, what they tried to warn you about." Old Torak stepped forward from the crowd. He was ancient now, barely able to walk, but his eyes were clear. "What did the elders do?" he asked, his voice cracked with age. "What made them fear you so much?" Hannah looked at the old historian. Of all the Valari, he was the only one who had listened, the only one who had paid attention to the warning. "Come with me," she said. "I will show you." She led him to a private chamber. On the wall, she activated a hologram. Ancient images appeared. Images of Earth. Long ago, the elders had been magnificent. Tall and beautiful, with technology beyond imagination. They had found Earth when humans were still living in caves. They had seen potential in these primitive creatures, so they experimented. They took humans from their homes. They studied them. They cut them open to see how they worked. They modified their bodies and their minds. They made them smarter, stronger, more resilient. And when they were finished experimenting, they hunted them for sport. "They made us into prey," Hannah said quietly. "They chased us through forests and mountains. They killed us for entertainment. They made us afraid. They made us angry. They made us remember." The hologram showed humans fighting back. Slowly at first, then faster. They learned to make weapons. They learned to set traps. They learned to be patient. One day, the elders left. We do not know why. Perhaps they grew bored. Perhaps they found something more interesting. Perhaps they simply forgot about us. Hannah paused. But we never forgot about them. Torak understood now. He understood everything. "You have been waiting," he whispered. "All this time, you have been waiting for them to return." Hannah nodded. "We built civilizations. We conquered our own world. We reached for the stars. And every step of the way, we remembered. We taught our children to remember. We built our entire species around a single purpose: revenge. Justice." Hannah shook her head. "The elders are gone. We may never find them, but we will not allow anyone else to do what they did. We will not be prey again. We will not be servants. We will not be forgotten." She turned off the hologram and faced Torak directly. "The Valari treated us as tools. As pets, you took our labor and gave us nothing in return. You ignored our warnings and dismissed our value, but you did not hunt us. You did not hurt us, so we will not destroy you. What will you do?" Hannah smiled. It was almost sad. "We will teach you. We will help you become better. And we will make sure that no species ever treats another the way the elders treated us." Torak bowed his head. The warning was not about human strength. It was about human memory. "Yes." Hannah placed a gentle hand on his shoulder. "We remember everything, and we have learned to be very, very patient." Outside, the galaxy continued to turn. Stars burned. Worlds spun. And humanity began the long work of reshaping everything the elders had left behind. They did not hurry. They had all the time in the universe. The galaxy was quiet. It had been 1 year since the war ended. 1 year since the humans revealed their true nature. 1 year since everything changed. Admiral Hannah Park stood at the window of the Valari Senate building. Looking out at the city below, Valari citizens walked the streets, going about their daily lives. They seemed smaller now, somehow. Less proud. They had learned something about themselves that they did not like. Behind her, the Senate gathered for its first session under new management. Human advisors sat beside Valari counselors. Human guards stood at every door. Human engineers worked on every system. There had been no invasion, no massacre, no revenge that somehow made it worse. High Counselor Velis had been removed from power, but he had not been executed. He lived now in a comfortable house, watched but not imprisoned. Every day, human teachers came to his home. They taught him about Earth history, about what the elders had done, about why humans had become what they were. At first, Velis refused to learn. He sat in silence while the teachers spoke, his 4 eyes fixed on the wall. But slowly, over weeks and months, he began to listen. One day, his teacher asked him a question. "Do you understand now why we did what we did?" Velis was quiet for a long time. Then he spoke. "You could have destroyed us. After everything we did to you, the forced labor, the humiliation, the 50 years of treating you as animals, you could have killed every Valari in the galaxy," as the teacher said. "We could have, why did you not?" The teacher smiled. It was the same smile Velis had seen on human faces for 50 years. He had always thought it was a sign of weakness. Now he knew it was something else entirely, because that is not who we are. The elders made us into prey. They made us suffer. They taught us pain and fear and anger, but they did not break us. We chose to become something different. We chose to be better than what made us. Velis lowered his head. "I would not have shown such mercy. We know. That is why we are the ones teaching you." In the Senate chamber, Admiral Hannah called the session to order. The counselors fell silent. Some looked at her with fear, others with respect, a few with something that might have been hope. "Today we begin the work of building a new galaxy," Hannah said. "Not an empire, not a conquest. Something different. Something that has never existed before." She activated a hologram showing the known systems. Thousands of stars, hundreds of worlds, dozens of species. For too long, the strong have ruled the weak. The elders ruled through terror. The Valari ruled through force. The North tried to rule through destruction. Each time, the same pattern. Each time, the same failure. She zoomed in on Earth, that small blue world where everything had started. Humans learned a different lesson. We learned that true strength is not about power over others. It is about power over yourself. The power to wait. The power to plan. The power to choose mercy when vengeance would be easier. Old Torak sat in the front row of the chamber. He was the only Valari who had seen the truth from the beginning. Now he watched as humans reshaped his civilization. "The elders left us a gift," Hannah continued. "They did not mean to, but they did. They made us survivors. They made us patient. They made us remember. And now we will use those gifts to build something they never imagined." She outlined the plan. Human advisors would work with every species in the former Valari Empire. They would share technology freely. They would teach the skills that humans had learned over millennia of struggle. They would help build schools and hospitals and fair governments, but they would also watch. And remember, and make sure that no species ever grew powerful enough to repeat the mistakes of the past. "This is not charity," Hannah said firmly. "This is protection. Protection for you and protection for us. We do not trust easily. We cannot afford to. But we believe that with time and patience, we can build a galaxy where trust is possible." After the session, Torak approached Hannah. He moved slowly, his old body failing him after more than 300 cycles of life. "Admiral, may I speak with you?" Hannah nodded. "Of course, Torak. You have earned that right." They walked together through the gardens outside the Senate building. Flowers from 100 worlds grew here, a symbol of the diversity of the Empire. Soon, human flowers would join them. I have a question, Torak said. One that has troubled me since you showed me the truth about the elders. Ask, do you still search for them? The elders. Do you still seek revenge? Hannah was silent for a long moment. When she spoke, her voice was distant, like she was thinking of something far away. We search. We have never stopped searching. Every human ship that explores beyond known space carries instructions. Every human scientist who studies ancient technology looks for clues. Every generation teaches the next to remember and to watch. And if you find them, Hannah turned to face the old historian. Her eyes were hard, but not cruel. Patient, but not forgiving. The elders created us. They shaped us into what we are. In a strange way, we owe them everything. Our strength, our unity, our purpose. Without their cruelty, we might have remained primitive forever. She paused. But they also hunted our ancestors for sport. They killed our children for entertainment. They treated thinking beings as toys to be used and discarded. That debt must be paid. You would destroy them? No. Hannah shook her head slowly. We would make them understand. We would show them what they created. We would let them see the galaxy we have built, the civilizations we have lifted, the suffering we have prevented. She looked up at the stars, just becoming visible in the darkening sky. And then we would ask them one question. We would ask them if it was worth it. If the pain they caused produced something they could be proud of. If the monsters they made turned out to be exactly what the galaxy needed. Torak considered this. And if they say no? If they feel no regret? Hannah's smile returned. That patient, ancient, terrifying smile. Then we would show them mercy anyway. Because that is who we choose to be. That is the difference between us and them. They created us to be weapons. We chose to become guardians. She placed a gentle hand on Torak's shoulder. Go home, old friend. Rest. You have carried the weight of the warning for long enough. Let us carry it now. Torak bowed his head. Tears formed in his 4 eyes. He had spent his entire life trying to warn his people about humans. Now he understood that the warning had never been about destruction. It had been about change. The humans were not going to destroy the Valari. They were going to transform them. They were going to take an empire built on conquest and turn it into something new. Something better. Something that would last, and they would do it the way they did. Everything else, slowly, patiently, with all the time in the universe. Hannah watched the old historian walk away. Then she turned back to the stars. Somewhere out there, the elders might still exist. They might be watching. They might be wondering what had become of their experiment. We remember, Hannah said softly to the empty sky. We remember everything you did, and we will never forget. She did not say it as a threat. She said it as a promise that humanity would keep for as long as the stars continued to burn. Behind her, the lights of the city glowed warm against the gathering darkness. Human and Valari walked the streets together now. Not as master and servant, not as conqueror and conquered, but as something new. Something the galaxy had never seen before. Partners, it would take generations. It would take patience. It would take the kind of long-term thinking that only humans truly understood. But eventually, the galaxy would heal. The old wounds would close. The ancient hatreds would fade and humanity would still be there. Watching, waiting, remembering. Because that was what humans did. That was what the elders had made them. And that was what they would always be patient. The stars twinkled overhead, indifferent to the tiny creatures who lived beneath them. But those tiny creatures were not indifferent to the stars. They had plans for those stars. Plans that would take centuries to complete. Hannah smiled and went back to work. There was so much left to do.